Good morning, Americas, and good afternoon, Europe, and kind of getting into good evening, India. So welcome, everyone. If you came to talk smarter manufacturing, you've come to the right place. It's season 2. It's episode 3 of the XDI Experience Show, and we are going Agile Manufacturing Operations. At the end of 2019, all I could talk about was innovation and smarter manufacturing. 2020 was, as far as I was concerned, the year of manufacturing execution systems and manufacturing operations management. But then along came COVID that froze production lines and taught us how badly needed are greater control, automation, and intelligence of how we manage those lines. Today, we're starting up the Smart Manufacturing series that soon will form part of the entire show going forward. So, a quick bit of housekeeping for you. Let's always bring relevance to what you do. During the show, in that comment section, it's where you drop your thoughts, it's where you drop your questions, and then as we go, we'll be picking those up. So please ask away. First up, let us introduce our guest today. With 12 years of manufacturing operations management, setting up and leading many implementation projects and global rollouts of business transformation applications across various industries, Christoph Grauer has successfully set up and executed Boeing's second century enterprise manufacturing operations management program, which was the largest manufacturing transformation, if not project period, ever for Dassault Systèmes. So if you're ready, let's get set and let us go. Yes, welcome back. And Christoph, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Andrew. Good. What about yourself?
Yeah, doing real good. The sun is rising in California. It's already up there for Florida. How's Miami?
Good, good. We're in the mid-80s. Sun is shining. It's dry.
Oh, we're hitting 100 today over here. Anyways, enough of that. We don't have the humidity you have, so there you go. How's the Latin vibe treating you in Miami? And how's Sobe? I miss that place.
I mean, I'm doing good, as you can see, you know, smiling, having a good tan, so everything's good.
Exactly. Yeah, us Europeans are reveling in it. You got it. Well, today, everyone, we're looking at some of the major enterprise application failures first up, exploring why we need MES, MOM, and looking at the fastest way to ROI across manufacturing operations. Don't forget, everyone, please, your comments, please, your thoughts, and ask questions. Stick them in there. Don't forget, please. We're going to pick them up as we go. So, Christoph, let's start it up with our usual quickfire round. This one with a little difference. Today, we're going to be looking at major enterprise application failures, how they connect up with the later part of the show, and why they occurred. So, if you're ready, man.
Absolutely.
Because anyway, I don't want to go into a debate discussion over that use of that word. Anyway, start the clock. 3 minutes, 3 big enterprises. What happened and why? 3, 2, 1. First up, we're going Nike's enterprise anti-application failure. What happened?
As the CIO from Nike said, I think Nike is becoming the poster child for really failed enterprise IT application projects. So what really happened, Nike spent more than $400 million on this failure. Okay, they completely underestimated the complexity and the efforts, customization efforts, integration efforts of their program with the solution they selected. And the issues were discovered pretty late in the process. So again, typical waterfall approach. So what was the impact on Nike with that? And what was the issue? So they were no longer able to really forecast customer demand for their products. So they had no idea which product has to go to which customer at what point in time. So they lost $100 million worth of sales to that. Yeah. And when that became public, it had a super impact on their stock price. I mean, stock price went down by 20%, right? So it took Nike 5 years to recover from that failure and multi-millions more.
Wow. Okay. Number 2, Waste Management Corp, Waste Management Inc.
Waste Management Inc. That's another good one. So we're talking here about a failure in the range of $100 million. Again, what happened here, it's a perfect example of how a company can get oversold by software vendors. So we all know if you run an IT or transformational program, there must be a business case, right? Mm-hmm. So the promise was that Waste Management Inc. will save between 100 and 200 million each year by applying this new solution. That was one part, and this part was never fulfilled. But I think that was not the major issue. The major issue was really, it was sold to Waste Management Inc. as an out-of-the-box application that will easily support their processes. So once the deal was closed, and Waste Management got a closer look at the solution, it was anything else but out of the box, okay? So really massive efforts, and at the end, it became even obvious this solution will never be able to really support their business processes.
Wow.
Right? Wow. So they tried to go to court with the software vendor. However, software vendor, they showed collaboration. There is an agreement in place. They settled outside of court. But it's a very good example to show that maybe some applications out there, the best platform they run on is PowerPoint, right? And you don't want to get trapped in that.
Okay. Okay. Hershey's chocolate.
Hershey. When you think about their products and what they produce, it must be sweet, right? Now I can tell you what they achieved had a really bitter taste, actually.
Yeah.
So we talk about another really $100 million failure. So Hershey ended up in a situation where they could not produce $100 million order worth of Kiss and Jolly Ranchers, basically, right? And the issue was not that they did not have the inventory. It was really that manufacturing was shut down. And they made 2 textbook mistakes, actually. And I'm not sure if they made it alone or if they had just a wrong consulting company behind them. But number 1 was they tried to squeeze a very, very complex scope in an unrealistic time frame. Okay, there was just no way. It was really, the expectations were completely wrong. So I don't know if the partner had no idea about the software and the complexity, but that was one reason for the failure. The second reason was really they planned their cutover and go live right into Halloween session. So right into Halloween season. I mean, top peak demand, bringing out a solution that is not proven on the floor. People are not trained to the new solution, not trained to the new workflows. Recipe for disaster.
Wow. Wowie. Sounds like it. Good job. Thank you for that. And you're in the time. So I'm going to check, see if we've got any queries, any comments from the audience. No. We've got one. Okay. Comment here. Nike failed due to a lack of understanding of integration and has last minute switch outs to their. So I guess what we're saying there is a lack of understanding of the integration across the ecosystem. And they had a last minute switch to supply chain management application. Agree, disagree?
I agree.
Okay, good. We're all on the same page. Beautiful. Let's move on to part 2, the main discussion around smart manufacturing. First question for you is, why do we need manufacturing operations management and manufacturing execution systems?
Yeah, so I really think companies that are really active in manufacturing or manufacturing companies, they always struggled with certain obstacles and had challenges throughout history, right? Especially when we had economical, political, or any technological change. Now with this pandemic what we see right now is really, we can see how fragile, I would say, some manufacturing businesses are, and fragile from a sense, to adapt and to see what a change in demand patterns will make to their operations. And on the other side, to their supply chain, right? So I'm convinced right now, ever than before, companies need the right tools in place to understand on the one side what is happening, meaning if the demand changes, if my product mix changes, right? If my resource availability on the floor changes, because don't forget, company let people go, furloughed people, shut down assembly lines, etc., etc. So the resource availability is different, right? The demand is different. So how do I cope with that? And second, then really adjust the operations accordingly, okay, to work as efficient as possible. And I think really this is where MOM fits right in and brings a lot of value to these companies.
Got it. So you're basically saying that COVID-19 really showed lack of visibility and lack of control of their manufacturing lines.
Correct.
Okay. So what does MOM need to actually do?
So I really think MOM needs to provide real-time visualization, control, and synchronization across your manufacturing network.
Okay.
Right. And without recommending any MOM or MES solution, I think a good MOM solution should really enable you as a customer to enforce and bring visibility even outside of the 4 walls of your factory, right? So really including your supply chain, basically, having that visibility and really offer you traceability and improve your quality around all your factories. So you want to be able to identify in real-time bottlenecks. We mentioned it earlier. If my demand pattern changes, if my product mix changes, right? My bottlenecks switch as well, right? Because it's all of a sudden a completely different manufacturing process, or could be. So you want to identify these inefficiencies right away and be as productive as possible with the remaining sources that you have. So another aspect is I really think a MOM solution should enable you and support you with all your elements of manufacturing. When I mean all elements, it's not just production, it's also quality, it's logistics, right? Maintenance, time and labor, etc.
Yeah.
And from a global standpoint, it should also allow you to enforce or share best practices across the enterprise, right? And streamline your operations with paperless manufacturing and electronic work instructions to really improve your resource management and synchronize production with planning. Okay. So having that said, MOM collects so much data which can be used for root cause analysis and basically can be one major pillar for any lean, continuous improvement, Six Sigma initiative that you have, right?
You mentioned, I mean, both of us, I think, are ex-SAP guys, and obviously we went through waves of best practice coming in, and it was exciting and it was amazing what was going on. Are you now seeing best practices coming into the manufacturing execution MOM sector? And if so, what kind of industry verticals are you seeing most advanced in respect of this?
I really would say, I mean, best practice. I'm sure every factory works on best practices, what they think is best practices. What I say right now is, if you really decide to go on a global MOM journey, right?
Okay.
You can have a tool basically to really enforce these best practices across your manufacturing network, given the assumption that you have a similar manufacturing model, right? Yep. Which might not be the case for every company. They might have a batch manufacturing here, discrete manufacturing here. I really think discrete manufacturers are really leading that space, right? With best practices across their sites and benchmarks.
Okay, got it. And then, you know, up to the quick fire round, we were talking integration being one of the key issues. What about integration MOM?
I think really integration is crucial, and you want to select a solution that can easily integrate with any third-party PLM, ERP, or other application, but also with any kind of equipment on the shop floor. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where you are hooked to a certain automation vendor, for example, right? Or also to a certain ERP or PLM vendor. So you want to be independent because, again, a company's strategy might change one way or the other.
Okay.
But it's very important to be integrated, have this integration, especially for coordination and synchronization of people, processes, tooling, materials, equipment, all these kind of things. So, and another aspect, what I really want to say or mention here is there's a lot of value in having PLM, ERP, and MOM integrated and closing the loop, basically, right? If you think about it, you do your process definitions in your PLM system, right? And they might be quite accurate once you introduce a product, right? The standard times that you collect for the processing times, labor times, etc. So, but manufacturing is not static, as we discussed earlier. It's a very dynamic environment. So, by having the systems connected and feeding back the real things that happen on the floor to PLM will really help to increase the accuracy of the data in the PLM system.
Yep.
Which then could be again used for further continuous improvement, but also the financial data in ERP, right? If your product calculations are based on wrong times and so your labor rate is wrong, right? I mean, we all know the impact. So I think this is really an aspect that brings a lot of value and it makes a lot of sense, and it's very important that this is seamlessly integrated.
Beautiful. Nice. Okay. Thank you for that. Let's go to part 3. We're going to start looking at the return on investment. And we're going to look at the speed of install and empowerment of the business. Christoph, why do we need agile installations?
Okay, so I would really say and make that bold statement, there is no value in any MOM solution until you really have it deployed on the shop floor, right? So the point is, you want to have a MOM solution as fast as possible working on the floor to start realizing your ROI. And using a traditional methods or like waterfall approach allows hardly any room for errors. And what I mean by that, again, errors are normally discovered very, very late in your project, right? So by Agile, using these short-term sprints and iterations, basically, there is space for mistakes because you can immediately readjust them. And there's also space for opportunities, right? Priorities might switch throughout the project. And Agile, I think, is the right methodology to really bring out product on the floor as soon as possible without creating upfront heavy documentations.
Understand. Sprints. So I know a lot of engineers out there who get involved in these programs and the sprint goes there and the sprint goes there. There's concern over that. Do those sprints actually lead anywhere? Is it ever going to end? That is a concern that's out in the Agile methodology. What do you think?
So a couple of things here. I think when you mentioned one team is going there, one team is going there, or sprint, I think it's really all about how you organize it. I think it's very important to have a proper backlog defined before you start doing Agile. I would say, scope is scope no matter which development strategy you choose, right? So efforts are there, no doubt about it. I think it's very, very important to understand that Agile requires much more rigor, actually, and discipline than a traditional waterfall approach.
You bet.
So really, it's continuously testing the code, right? It's continuously documenting what was built. So it's important that all your team members are trained in the Agile methodology, that they embrace it, and then they are also afterwards empowered, because really, I think it's change management. Right.
Absolutely.
So software development is really characterized, if you look at it, with short development life cycles, actually. And you have constantly changing demands from the end users. This is, again, manufacturing is dynamic, not static, right?
Yep.
And Agile gives you the edge with real-time progress monitoring through system demos to ensure that the system can really fulfill the needs of the shop floor people, right? The other thing is, when you think about Agile teams, really, these teams are normally cross-functional. So you start breaking up these silos in the organization. You're really fostering collaboration, right? And I think this is one of the most essential components for all modern project management strategies.
Great.
So Agile is one of the most effective ways for an organization to really foster collaboration.
I've been a lot of major enterprise implementations that have been going waterfall. It wasn't necessarily Nike, but they were getting painful on the checkbook. So they decided to switch to Agile. Scrum Masters were appearing everywhere. Are you Scrum Masters or project managers? And I know the true Agile evangelists are going to answer that one within a millisecond. Is it servant leadership or is it hard driving programs?
Okay, again, I really think, I don't want to make waterfall bad right here. I really think in the context of manufacturing, I think waterfall can work and PMs can work in a very, very static environment where the scope is very clear, requirements will not change, and everyone has really, a clear understanding, but it starts there, clear understanding, what is that, right? Of what should be delivered, right?
Yep.
So I think really in manufacturing, servant leadership has the edge. It's really this whole aspect about empowering people, right? People will take over responsibility by they pick a user story. Work is not dictated, right? So it will really encourage collaboration at every level, in my experience, right?
Yep.
And this teamwork creates really an efficient and enjoyable workplace, actually, right?
Yep.
Because we know, I mentioned, it's a marathon. You have sprints coming, right? So you want to make sure that people feel comfortable, that they feel welcomed in the team. It's not about finger pointing in Agile. If you have multiple Agile teams, for example, these teams are there to learn from each other, right? So really, again, I think the other benefit is that you can rearrange and reprioritize user stories and scope items as priorities switch. So, and the stakeholder feedback, which is always there, right?
Yep. Got it. Servant leadership, I love, as long as the teams understand the macro and micro priorities for the entire program and the business, and that they're prepared to take responsibility, and that management is removing the blame game culture, of course. So you've got all those things as well to consider. That's where I come from. That's what I've seen. Okay. What do you think to retrospectives? Because they seem to get ignored a lot.
I think that's a major mistake, and I think it goes back to the point earlier. Do people really embrace Agile, or they just want to pick certain items out of it, which will not work at the end of the day?
Yeah.
The retrospective and inspect and adapt it's a crucial thing. It's a continuous improvement initiative, right? It's time for sharing feedback and becoming better as a team. So what I've seen, some people claim they do an Agile project, and at the end it's mini waterfall, right? So they just look at a 2-week iteration or sprint, and then they break it down into design, build, and test, right? Again, it has nothing to do with Agile, right? So I think that's one critical part to understand. And again, this mindset or this change in mindset has to be embraced also by the company's leadership, right? I mean, the leadership has to live it. Otherwise, people will not trust in it, and this will take time, right?
Yep.
But I think once people have that mindset, I mean, it's just really great, because everyone is focused on creating value, right? And value, I mean, every 2 weeks value, right? Not just at the end of the project that there is something. And if it brings value or not, this is another question.
Got it. Wonderful. Good. I am seeing coming in a whole raft of questions. Love it. And we're going to come back to those. Keep them rolling in. Get ready, Christoph. You've got your work cut out in a second.
No problem.
Let's move on to part 4. The best route to return on investment. What's a best practice approach to buying, installing, and using MES model?
Yeah, I think really to protect yourself from implementation failure, number 1 would be phased implementation versus a big bang, right? So I really think sometimes companies, they just are too ambitious, to put as much scope in a first go live.
So how do you decide the order of those phases?
I would say there are a couple of ways. Either you focus on the pain points. I mean, there was a reason why you picked that mom solution to help you with your business. That's number one. The other thing is also you could go to an area that creates certain value, but is easy to achieve, where risk of failure is very low. Because at the end, let's not forget, this is a business and IT initiative. And again, you have to convince people it's a new solution. It's a change. It's a change management exercise again. And by having a successful quick win, for example, after 3 months, will dramatically increase the acceptance of the new solution, which is crucial, which is also crucial. Yeah?
Yep. Great.
The other point is you will have stakeholders from business and IT. And what I've seen in my past, sometimes one or the other is left out, which is another big mistake. Okay. Mm-hmm. So really from the beginning, even during the RFP, you should have both parties on board, right? Business with the requirements, but also IT, because most probably they have to deliver and support this afterwards. Mm-hmm. Another aspect is focusing really on core requirements. When people issue an RFP for MES, I would say 80% is really core requirements and 20% is nice to have or wish list, right? And once you start a project, it's even getting worse. There's more and more scope added. Yep. So I think a company really has to do this due diligence and analyze what is really needed. Let's do that in a first shot. Everything that is nice to have, but not mandatory, let's keep that for a later stage. And by having the initial scope in production, realizing ROI, I mean, you will free up cash flow or money to finance any future scope increase.
Given what we've already been saying around best practices, learning from kind of the mistakes of others, that's kind of best practice transferring. How do you choose your partners therefore? Yeah,
so this is my other point. You have seen that overselling is a common problem. I mean, trust and one throat to choke. That's how I call it. Okay. Right. So many times I really think that companies are, I don't know, listening too much to the initial software vendor as one example, right? And getting oversold about solution out of the box, etc., and the capabilities.
Okay.
So how I see it right now, in many cases, companies can just not afford to engage the initial software vendor in the implementation project. Because in many cases, and again, looking into the ERP, PLM, or MOM space, it's the same common theme. Their services are at a prime rate, right? Compared to what other leading consultant companies are charging. Mm. So what a lot of companies do then is they go ahead, they buy software from the vendor and do services with someone else. So in my eyes, the company gets basically screwed twice, okay?
So you're suggesting one provider, software services, isn't that kind of putting all your eggs in that one basket?
It could be perceived that way on the first shot, but now let me explain. If you go the other way around, right? Mm-hmm. If you buy just the software from one vendor, then all of a sudden the software vendor has his PLC, his ALC, etc. He will only get money out of the license deal. So, and this will become his only revenue stream. So what they will do probably? They will not give you the best price. I hardly doubt it, because they don't get any margin on the services. Okay. So they will make sure that this deal is nicely sized for them, their interest. Now, you start with an RFP, right? For a system integrator, for example. Mm-hmm. So here again, their main source of revenue is selling you as many people as possible, right? And even though they might give you a good proposal at the beginning, sooner or later, and working for system integrators, working for software companies, I know that they are measured, they have targets, there is a certain amount of change requests which they have to get. And if they can extend the project without blaming, their own company, stuff like that, it's always great, additional revenue. Yeah. So this is why I really think you are actually worse off. You're paying too much for the software, too much for the services. Got it. By having one partner, one company that can do both, that can resell you the software, that can handle the implementation, has the expertise to do so, they can give you a complete different package, a much more competitive package, I would say. Mm-hmm. And you can also then align your targets with their success, right? Okay. So don't buy a couple of sites up front, etc. I mean, I really recommend everyone go side by side, go progress-wise, okay? Try it out. Yep. And if you link any additional software sales, etc., to the success of the implementation, I think that's the best way how you can guarantee that your targets are in the focus, right? And that the company is doing everything to support your goals. And at the end, it's your digital transformation, not the one from your vendor.
Interesting. Thank you, Christoph. We're going to slide over to Q&As. I'm feeling them stacking up. So let's jump over there. I don't know whether I should pick them or let them come in free will. Why don't we let them come in free will? What do we got? What's the first question for Christoph? From Ravi, or Rav, forgive me if I mispronounce your name, Ravi. MES has to work with disparate systems. There is no out-of-the-box integration solution to the transition, but it's a painful learning to get it right. What do you think?
Absolutely, I completely agree. I mean, there is one effort, even if you try to package solutions on the MES space, one effort that you will always face is the integration. Okay, there is no way around it because every customer is different. Every customer has different systems, right? And again, PLM, ERP, third-party shop floor equipment. So I definitely agree. It's a big effort driver, and it can get very, very complex.
Okay, you better know what you're doing then.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, next question. From Sarah Stewart. Sarah, thanks for joining us. I know you and I were DMing this morning, making sure we could get you on. Visualization, control, synchronization, just like a perfectly orchestrated melody where mom is the conductor. I think you got to agree.
Yeah, absolutely. Beautifully said.
Got it. Next one. From Joe. Joe, also, thanks for your thumbs up. How well are manufacturers prepared to deal with the avalanche of data that comes with these types of Industry 4 initiatives, the convergence of OT and IT? That's a whole show in itself, but I'd love to hear your views on that. That's great.
No, absolutely. I think that's a crucial point. I think companies can be overwhelmed with these topics. Absolutely. And a lot of these topics, I mean, are still emerging, right? And I think there's also a trend to collect as much data as possible, although not even having defined, is this data of any good or any use for me? Right. So, but I agree. I think it's a completely different or complete whole show.
It is. And is it the IIoT platform? Is that what's needed? Can it be absorbed in the MES MOM? What do you think on that?
No, I would really say, depending on the amount of data, I would say it's rather IIoT.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Fair enough. Got it. Next question. From Imtiaz Javid. Does MOM have the constraints-based planning and scheduling a part of MES MOM functions?
Good one. I know a couple of people will not agree with me right now. In my opinion, absolutely. According to ISO 95, scheduling should be part of that. I actually always say, without having at least a schedule against a schedule that I work against, right? What is the value? I mean, what do I compare my data from the shop floor, my real-time feedback against, right? So I really think these two things, there is so much value in having them completely integrated in one solution in MOM. Absolutely.
Excellent. Good. Next question. From Kunal, does project gateways or timeline affect the MOM plan?
Absolutely. I mean, again, each MOM implementation is different, right? There are constraints from every customer that are different. I mean, sometimes you have to align it with a PLM, ERP initiative, etc., like that. So I think this is a whole different topic. On the one hand side, we talked today about development of MOM, right? I would say we can make a whole show around the implementation and rollout of MOM and really look at how a roadmap will look like and what are all the factors that are playing in and that are a challenge to deal with. Because I've seen customers, they bought licenses for 30 sites already, and after 10 years, they are still only have implemented 10, right? So that's what is reality, right?
Yeah. Got to get a grip. Okay, next question. Thanks, Christoph. Next question from Kripan Virastogi. We have heard about flexible manufacturing since a long time. Seems smart manufacturing is the solution for executing the above approach in terms of improving the maturity levels by integration of information from disparate systems to get a single version of truth. What do you think? Sounds like you agree.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, 100%. That's it. Good. Next 100%. Question. From Fabio. Fabio, thanks. I appreciate your comments the other day. Christoph, would you suggest a specific methodology to start a transformation journey in manufacturing?
So again, if this is just software related right now, I mean, I would really suggest Agile for manufacturing IT projects. Okay. If this is a wider question that he's looking for an answer to, I mean, I can answer that after that meeting. Okay. But right now for software, absolutely, I'm in favor and would really suggest when you talk about a manufacturing IT project, Agile is the way to go.
Got it. Okay, good. Next question. From MTRs again, I believe the MOM has 4 functions to cover: production operations management, inventory operations management, quality ops management, and maintenance. Yeah, any more? Any less?
I mean, again, there's then a question. I mean, I think all these points are very valid with ISO 95, right? Yep. It's clearly defined. But still, I mean, if you think about intercompany logistics, right? I mean, supplying materials. I mean, I really talk about production supply areas next to your assembly lines, heating processes and stuff like that. So I think even the MOM footprint could be even wider than that.
Great, great. What have we got questions-wise coming in? Right, MES, MOM, and brownfield organizations. Any successes there given that users already are used to a certain workflow process pre-MES?
Yeah, and this is now, I think this is a perfect change management question. And this is a situation that you face many, many times, right? Yep. Because people, it's not like that people don't have a solution. Either they have, the situation that we have right now is they have homegrown applications, or they started with a small MES, right, which they have outgrown with their complexity, right? But you hardly find any, or they are just doing everything on paper, Excel, stuff like that. But it's not like that these companies do not have anything in place. So that's a struggle and a challenge you have every single time. And this is why I mentioned break it down to quick wins. Give the user the experience that what will come is better. It's convincing work, right? But by bringing them in early and really, do that change management, your chances for success are quite big, actually.
Friends from previous shows, Linda, Peru, you're set for a busy future ahead based upon what Christoph is saying. That's great. Next question. We seem to have quite a few. Rav's back. What's your thought on process mining usage for holistic view of solutions, PLM, ERP, MES systems?
That's a good one.
Sounds like you've lost your words.
Yeah, really. So again, I think MES is really a system like the data collector, right?
Yep.
And basically, I mean, you don't collect this information. I mean, it's feeding into PLM and ERP, yep. And all the collection is done in MES.
Got it. Okay, good. Excuse me, my battery's running. I think we're probably getting close to the end of the questions. We've got a lot coming in. Here's what I suggest, Christoph. You're going to jump into the feed right after the show. Please jump in, answer those questions. We make sure we get those for you. Everyone, thanks so much. We will definitely answer all of your questions over the next 24 hours, max, hopefully even quicker for Christoph. Let us move on. Thanks so much. Let's now use this time very briefly to introduce the partnership of XDI Innovation and SBS. Sufyan Elamili, our founder, is going to be joining us. Here he is. Sufyan, good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, Chris. Good morning, everyone. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, doing real good. We are going to take 3 to 4 minutes to talk about the new partnership between XDI and SBS. Quick fire round once again to get through these 4 quick questions, maximum 1 minute answers. Sufyan, you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm going to let you lead all of these because Christoph's out of breath, that's for sure.
Exactly.
That's
what did you guys come together? What happened? How did you come together and why?
Well, we're always looking to provide more value to our customers, as does SBS, obviously. Yep. So what we're doing really is trying to close the loop, Andrew. So we at XDI have a lot of experience with 3D experience, with digital manufacturing, and we're trying to close that loop. So we're very happy and excited about this relationship and this partnership with SBS, which would allow us to cover the execution piece of manufacturing. So we have traditionally been doing everything on the platform, from planning, robotics, digital manufacturing, but you have to execute, and our customers are asking us for execution and operation systems, which is why we partnered up with Christoph, who you mentioned earlier, has a great track record with successful implementations, SBS. So we're all very excited, and we feel this would add absolutely a lot of value to our customers.
Awesome. So what is the opportunity that's out there?
Yeah, the opportunity again is to close the loop. We've been talking about MES and MOM,
Yep.
and a lot of the customers we talk to are worried about scope. It's a big system. It's expensive. It takes a long time. So when we talked to Christoph and his team, and they showed us this new rapid implementation methodology that would save our customers, a few months off of the implementation plan and reduce a few zeros from that invoice. I think that was very appealing to us, because I saw somebody asking the question here is a lot of these solutions seem sometimes out of reach for SMBs, and we want to make it very palatable to SMBs that want to implement these types of solutions but don't have all the infrastructure or possibly the budgets to do that. So what are we
talking cloud MES or something? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, we're talking really a rapid implementation methodology. So Christoph and his team have put together basically boxed, packaged solutions. And yes, you're right, Andrew. If a customer wants to deploy these on the cloud, we're absolutely able to do that.
Correct.
That's up to the customer.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Question 3, quick one. What industries do you see poised for the greatest returns from digital manufacturing and manufacturing operations management?
Well, one we see, and I think it's obvious to everyone, is consumer goods. We all have seen the constraints on the supply chain and the product availability of certain products during the confinement of COVID. So consumer goods, I think, is really one. The other one is industrial equipment. Although manufacturing as a whole, some segments have been affected, but there are a lot of segments within industrial equipment that are really doing well, like construction machinery or agricultural machinery or mining machinery. These guys are doing well. And then we see all of the EVs, all of the autonomous electric vehicles, subject near and dear to your heart, Andrew. So a lot of these customers that were startups maybe 2 years ago are now getting into production and trying to produce their vehicles. So we see that as a potential market. But really, I mean, it's pretty horizontal in terms of can benefit from these types of solutions.
Nice. Okay, last question. What's the next steps? What happens next? How do they get hold of people, etc. as well?
Well, the next steps is we're already engaged with SPS with a few of these accounts that we're talking to start implementing these types of solutions. Mm-hmm. We are getting a ton of interest, and we are basically in the middle of some of these conversations to get some projects kicked off. But yeah, next step, if we have customers interested in discussing MOM, MES, smart manufacturing, please reach out to us. And we'd be happy to take that call and discuss your project with you.
Sounds good. So obviously we've got the direct message that Christoph's going to be answering anyway as we come out the back of this show. Anything we can throw up on the screen for contact would be great. Thank you, gentlemen. Christoph as well, all the best to you. We are going to see you back very, very soon, because I think you've just created about 4 different shows that we need to get done. IoT and methodology and all sorts of things. That's really good. So I look forward to that. We're going to be continuing to dive deep into Industry 4, smart factories, digital factories, smart manufacturing. I'm never quite sure these days what we call it. Whatever you want to call it. But gentlemen, Sufyan, thanks. Christoph, thanks. Appreciate you coming along. Bye for now. Catch you in a few days. Everyone else, stick around for one more minute, because next week, oh yes, we are going automotive PLMers. We're turning up the heat, or if you like, powering up the electrics, as we talk engineer to order. The MBOM, do we build it in ERP or in PLM? Is PLM the right place for the configurator? And when should we be releasing the MBOM? And is EBOM, MBOM, are they the same thing? Do they need to be any different? Yeah, a lot of arguments go on projects over those 4 questions, and we're going there. We're putting head-to-head a deep PLM solution architect with 1 million years of experience versus a business consultant and program director recently rolled off a 3D experience install within the ACES sector. So I'm excited. You don't want to miss this one. The sparks are going to be flying, that's for sure. Monday, October 12. Yes, it's a new day. We're trying a Monday, so have a great week ahead, a full week ahead, and see you Monday, October 12. Thanks for coming. Thanks for all your questions. Have a great one.